It'd be quite a ludicrous sight if anyone else saw it. A large adult man was being grabbed by the neck and hung like a monkey. I could see Lee Hyung-sung looking this way from across the bridge. His expression was anxious, but he couldn't actually see what was going on here. It was due to the safety ward. I could see over there, but they couldn't see here. Name, Yoo Jung-hook demanded. What? What is your name? Look at this different way of talking. Just like a main character. But it wasn't good to provoke him here. Kim Dokja. A strange name. I've heard that a lot. At this moment, my stomach sank in and felt turned inside out as Yoo Jung-hook's fist hit it. Despite having skinned that a knife bounced off, the attack was very painful. You have a solid body. Have you already mastered the use of coins? It's the same with you. Bam! There was another hit to my stomach again. I barely managed to swallow back a groan. This guy, the level of his strength was at least 15. He was at this scale despite only one main and one sub-scenario occurring. Indeed, natural-born monsters were different. Stop the unnecessary answers. Only answer what I ask you from now on. Understood? I didn't answer. I thought maybe this might happen. However, this was the worst situation I desperately hoped would never happen. In the beginning, Yoo Jung-hook was more intimidating than any other figure. His personality worn out after going through regression 3 times. His principles were cut away in order to maintain his sense of self. The current Yoo Jung-hook would never hesitate for the heck of his purpose. Your answer? I'll use honorifics. What if I don't want to? At this time I raised both hands to block the fist. The pain felt like my bones had broken, but the shock dissipated. Yoo Jung-hook's eyes widened like he was a bit surprised. The character Yoo Jung-hook is on guard against you. Then it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a punching bag just because he was the main character. I'm sorry, but you are younger than me, pro gamer Yoo Jung-hook. Therefore you should be the one using honorifics. You know me? I know. I'm the employee of a game company. It was a lie. Even if I worked for a game company, it was impossible to memorize all the names of professional gamers. In addition, until recently, Yoo Jung-hook was just a character in a novel. You're famous. At one time, I was a fan. Being famous was just a setting of the plot, but still, it wasn't a lie that I was a fan. I liked, hated, grumbled, and cheered Yoo Jung-hook on. That's why I stuck with him for over 3,000 chapters. Fan. I haven't heard that in a long time. Yoo Jung-hook had a look of nostalgia on his eyes, like he was locked in his memories. However, it was only for a moment. I'll forgive your impudence this time, but your situation hasn't changed. I can see that. I looked down at my 2 legs swaying over a blank space. I only have one thing to ask you. Ask. How did you survive on the subway? It was the question I expected. Will you spare me if I answer? I'll see. It was a lie. I could tell just by looking at his face. I was the only reader of ways of survival. Numerous possible repertoires were simulated in my head. What could I say to convince this damn regressor? Your understanding of the character Yoo Jung-hook is increasing. Your understanding of this person is already very high. Huh? The conditions of use for exclusive skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 2 has been reached. Do you want to activate this exclusive skill? Then after a moment I was able to read someone's thoughts like a waterfall in my head. Only Lee Hyung-sung and Kim Nam-woon should have survived in that carriage. Yet Kim Nam-woon died and the others survived? How did you survive? Who the hell is this guy? Dig up some information. If I find any disturbing elements, kill. A dense flicker of thoughts. It was obviously a crisis situation, but I couldn't prevent the corners of my mouth from going up. The remaining time until the scenario ended was 5 minutes. I started telling the story. I told the story using as much concise, short, and accurate vocabulary as possible. It was from the moment that Dokja appeared in the subway to the end of the first scenario. Of course, I excluded the skills I got in any important issues. You cleared the scenario by killing insects? We were lucky. Yoo Jung-hook was so surprised he seemed to have forgotten that his mouth was open. The future has completely changed. He was shocked. Originally, the people in carriage 3807 would kill each other in a battle royale, with only Lee Hyung-sung and Kim Nam-woon surviving. You have keen eyes. How did you know there were insects in that carriage? Killing intent filled Yoo Jung-hook's eyes as his thoughts brushed against my head. Is this guy also a regressor? If so, I have to kill him right now. A person who commits a fault thinks that everyone speaks of it. I wasn't surprised that he misunderstood me. I quickly opened my mouth. An explosion. Explosion? I was able to find the insects due to explosion from the front carriage in front. Yoo Jung-hook's body stopped at these words. Explain in a simple manner. When the explosion occurred, a kid fell and dropped his insect collecting net. I picked it up by chance. It is a suspicious coincidence. Coincidences are always suspicious. If you don't believe me, ask the people beyond the ward. The boy standing there dropped the net. Beyond the safety barrier on the way to the Oksu station, people were looking over at this side. The scenario wasn't over yet, so they couldn't approach or talk to any of us. Yoo Jung-hook looked over, but showed no signs of moving. His eyes changed and memories that seemed to belong only to Yoo Jung-hook crossed my mind. I see. Explosion. This guy isn't a regressor. He isn't the one who changed the future. Rather, the future changed. Because of me. I saw people dying painfully in a powerful explosion, and Yu Xiong blankly watching it. It's because I started killing them, unlike the other turns. Due to the impact of Omniscient Reader's viewpoint, I could feel Yu Xiong's mental pain and suffering. Are your questions over? I asked. Yes. Then can you let me go? In addition, let's go to Uxu Station together. There isn't much time remaining to clear the scenario. It is difficult. However, a protagonist was a protagonist for a reason. Everything he says makes sense. I've never seen a protagonist as careful as Yu Xiong. A beginner shouldn't be this calm. He was abnormally well adjusted to this changed world. He probably killed Kim Namun. He's gone beyond being useful to being dangerous. Yu Xiong's right eye started shining with a gold color. I quickly realized what he was doing. In fact, it'd be weird if this guy didn't use that. Sage's Eyes. Yu Xiong's strongest detection skill. Sage's Eyes was an SS-grade skill that showed the target's attribute window as well as hidden information. As long as he used it, I couldn't avoid revealing my identity. On the other hand, I thought it was a good thing. I still didn't know my attribute and skills. If Yu Xiong discovered my information, I'd also be able to know about myself. Then hopefully I'd be able to use information I learned to escape this situation. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, is activated. Fourth Wall has detected the use of the detection skill, Sage's Eyes. Sparks flew into the air and Yu Xiong's body staggered. What? Yu Xiong covered his right eye and watched me with confusion. You. What is your identity? Sorry, but I was wondering the same thing. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, has blocked Sage's Eyes. I didn't know I had a skill that would defend against Sage's Eyes. After bookmark, it was Fourth Wall. This complicated thing. Yu Xiong wouldn't believe me now. I must kill him here. He was a person who didn't trust what he didn't know. Then I also needed to change plans. You need a reliable companion. What do you mean? You can't break through the 46th scenario alone. Shouldn't you be well aware of it? Yu Xiong's eyes narrowed. How do you know about this? Perhaps it doesn't matter how I know or who I am. I stared straight into Yu Xiong's eyes and said, the important thing is that I can help you. He isn't a regressor. If he was a regressor, I wouldn't be unaware of him. Then who is this person? Perhaps. I couldn't hide my hand, and if I didn't possess the best hand, then there was only one way out. It was to show a hand that would make any other person misunderstand. Yu Xiong, I know the future that you don't know. The character, Yu Xiong, has used lie detection skill. Lie detection has confirmed that your words are true. Yu Xiong's eyes slowly widened. How? How else? No way. There was Prophet other than Anna Croft? It's also in South Korea? Prophet. In Ways of Survival, it was the only attribute that could see the future and had the passive of nullifying all detection skills. In fact, only one person had the attribute of Prophet in the world of Ways of Survival. Only Prophet can defend against my Sage's Eyes. I didn't answer, and Yu Xiong bit his lips. Can you perhaps use Future Sight? It's something similar. You knew I would come here. Yes. I see. If this man is a prophet, all his actions are convincing. The flow was changing. Yu Xiong's fluctuation was conveyed straight away. This was the only chance. I know Yu Xiong has special powers. You also know things about the future, isn't that right? But that knowledge isn't perfect. The only weakness of a regressor was that the future changed when they used their information of the future. In other words, all those who regress would eventually live in a world they don't know. Make me your companion. I can fill in the parts you're missing. There's no companion as good as a prophet to the present Yu Xiong. In fact, my present self could play a role similar to a prophet. It was because I was the only reader of the story. There is 1 minute to the end of the scenario. Yu Xiong lowered his head and started to think. A prophet could certainly be helpful. There are 50 seconds left to complete this scenario. Not just the 46th scenario, but later when finding the Chalatustra. But, can I really believe him? There are 40 seconds left at the end of the scenario. Companion. Finally, Yu Xiong raised his head as I stared at the clock with an irritated heart. I've decided. I'll make you my companion. Excessive immersion has severely worn out your mental strength. Exclusive skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint has been turned off. I wasn't sure if it was due to fatigue or relief, but the exclusive skill was released. Now Yu Xiong's face was as difficult as a philosophy book with no commentary written. Yu Xiong started to take me across the even bridge. Of course, I was still held by the collar, but I thought things would be all right now. I persuaded this damn regressor was in a good position. We had almost crossed the even bridge, and we were right in front of the safe area when Yu Xiong suddenly stopped. I'll ask you one last thing. What? If you really are a prophet, you should know your future, isn't that right? The moment I saw Yu Xiong's serene eyes, goosebumps broke out. His test wasn't over yet. The grip holding my collar tightened. His hand raised me up a little bit, and a gentle wind passed by my feet. Underneath me was completely empty. The smell of blood mixed in with the smell of the Han River as the ichthyosaurs jumped their prey with open mouths. Will I let go of my hand, or won't I? For the first time, I started sweating. Let me think. Even without his thoughts, I know this guy more than anyone else. I closed my eyes and thought about Yu Zhongok. There are 20 seconds left to the end of the scenario. Then I came to a conclusion. Yu Zhongok? I was certain about what he would do. No matter how I thought about it, there was no other ending when it came to Yu Zhongok. I talked as I watched a sea commander approaching in the water. I'll tell you 2 things first. What? 1. I'm not your subordinate, so I hope you can treat me fairly from now on. 2. I will cooperate with you, but you also have to promise to cooperate with me. Yu Zhongok looked at me with an interest and nodded. Well, what's your answer? I replied with a smile. Release your hand to get lost, you damn son of a bitch! Then the power holding me disappeared. I was grabbed by the force of gravity. I saw Yu Zhongok's face as I was falling. Yu Zhongok was smiling brightly like something had made him happy. Son of a bitch. I believe you. You definitely are a prophet. Waiting for me at my crash point was the mouth of a giant sea commander. I closed my eyes from the shock of the impact along with the cold water of the Han River. As I sucked in a breath, a warm and enormous darkness swallowed me up. You have failed to clear the scenario. Damn. I have to use that method after all.